Okay, so interview Rob McClure, Layne McClure. Here we go. What is your occupation?
I am a pipe fitter.
All right. Where do you work and how long do you usually work?
Well, I could work at a various number of places, but typically I work in schools, office buildings, milk plants, liquid natural gas plants, refineries, so on and so forth. I could be in any one of these places from 2-3 weeks to 2-3 years. It just depends on the job.
All right. And what is a typical work day?
A typical work day? I'll give you a basic kind of typical work day because it varies from day to day. It just depends on the job. It depends on what kind of pipe we're putting in. But typically we're going to show up on the job. We usually get there 6:30 in the morning, start at 7. We go over everything that we have to do for the day. But then we're going to go into whatever we're doing, and one of the first things we do is lay out. When we lay out everything, we have to basically take the prints and we have to figure out how to implement the piping on location. We have to figure out how to get it in places, which isn't always necessarily easy to get into. And we have to use a lot of math during our layout to measure off walls and ceilings and floors and lasers and chalk lines to figure out exactly how we're going to get this pipe in there and get it where it needs to go.
All right. And how often do you use math in your workday?
All day long.
Some examples?
We use math all day long. I'll give you a basic example of the math we use often, almost daily. We do a lot of 45-degree offsets. You have your 90-degree offsets, and what an offset basically is if you have two parallel pipes in different locations, they have to be connected. Well, that's called an offset. So if one pipe is going in a direction right here, and another pipe has got to go here because something's in the way, we have to offset around it. We use 45-degree offsets. Well, with a 45-degree offset, just to give you an example, if you've got a 10-foot offset, so that means the pipes that are paralleling each other are 10 foot apart, you have to multiply it by 1.414, which is the constant to figure out the travel piece that we would need to cut to put into our piping system. I think they teach in school it's also called a hypotenuse. But what it is if it's 10 foot, you multiply it by 1.414, that means that the offset piece of pipe that's going to create the 45-degree angle is going to be 14.14 feet long. And on top of that, we also have to figure out what the takeoff of the fittings is, which means whenever we figure up a measurement, we always measure using our center to center measurements, which means from the center of the pipe to the center of the pipe. That's the offset. So when we figure up our travel piece or hypotenuse, that's also going to be a center to center measurement. Well, when you put a fitting, like a 45-degree fitting, into a pipe, you have to figure out what the face of the pipe, the fitting, to the center of it is, and you have to subtract that off the length of your travel piece. So if you have two 45-degree fittings, which make up your offset, you have to do that twice. So you'll be subtracting after you finish your basic geometry there. And this could vary too. If you have a 22.5-degree pipe, or you have a 45-degree pipe, or a 60-degree pipe, it's all going to vary. The constant is going to be different. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't remember all the constants and whatnot. So if you don't know all the constants, as long as you know where to get them, you could always figure out anything you need to figure out. And that's just one small taste of what we do on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot of geometry, calculus, physics, trigonometry involved in constructing some of the most complex piping systems in the world.
All right. Thank you for this interview, Father.
You're welcome, son.